my name's Bethany. I'm currently an autism teaching assistant at a large secondary school in Leeds. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to share my knowledge that I've learned from my Masters in Disability Studies. This video is aimed at teaching assistants, teachers, Senkos, anyone in education that wants to know a little bit more about the word disability and how it fits into our everyday society. None of the ideas and concepts that I talk about in this video are my own. Like any sociologist, I've learnt these and then I've applied them to my everyday life and society around me. I won't be talking about like the theorist names and things in this video, but if you want to know any more, then I'll leave some links to articles and books below. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Right, so first off, I'd like you to look at this picture. In this picture, what do you see? 6 young women, happy, enjoying a party. We don't know anything about them other than what we see in this picture, just physically see. Yet we've already made a lot of assumptions about them in our heads. They are assumptions that we automatically make because of the society we live in. In the society we live, we idolise the normal human being. This normal human is physically able, academically capable and mentally stable. All 6 of the women in this photo have 2 degrees, an undergraduate degree and a master's degree. With this small added piece of information, we picture them very differently in our heads. We now see 6 strong, independent women. And you wouldn't be wrong with this information. However, one of the women in this photo has autism and fibromyalgia. One of them has dyslexia. One of them's sister has Down syndrome. One of them's mum has MS. One of them worked in a special needs school. And one of them has dyslexia, mild hearing loss and cerebral palsy. Can you tell? No, of course you can't, because most of them are invisible impairments. Disability has affected all 6 of these women in some way or another. It doesn't mean they haven't been successful, but that also doesn't mean they haven't had to fight for acceptance and understanding. All these women are my friends. We all completed a master's degree in disability studies. We all want to fight to change how disabled people are seen and treated. I now want you to think back to when you first saw the picture of these girls. Your view's changed, hasn't it? Your brain's initial assumptions of these girls is an example of a theory called ableism. Ableism is the discrimination of non-able-bodied people. British society is ableist. As a whole, we automatically assume everybody fits into the idealised category of normal. Steps and stairs are designed naturally in buildings without even thinking about it. Ramps and lifts are often an afterthought. This is what ableism looks like to physically disabled people. Our education system and workplace structure assumes everyone has high levels of communication skills in the forms of reading, writing, socialising, body language, sarcasm, things like that. Yet for many people with disabilities such as dyslexia and autism, communication can be a serious challenge. Ableism creates disability. I identify as disabled because I'm dyslexic. I know this will cause confusion to some people and even maybe anger to others. 2 years ago, if you'd have called me disabled, I'd have probably been quite annoyed and tried to explain to you what dyslexia was. But since then, my understanding of the term disability has significantly changed, and I'd like to try and explain to you how I now understand it. The idealised human that ableist society has created assumes everybody is able to walk, able to talk, able to hear, able to socialise, able to communicate, able to read. The list goes on. Society is built on the assumption that everyone can do these things and is comfortable doing these things. When someone comes along who doesn't fit into this idealised category because they are not able to do everything expected of them, then they become disabled. This concept is fairly easy to understand in terms of somebody in a wheelchair. The idealised human has 2 working legs. In everyday life, these legs can be used to get around, to walk, to climb stairs. Society was built on the assumption that everybody could do this. The wheelchair is an amazing invention that allows people who do not have 2 fully working legs to get around. Society was not built for people who use wheels instead of legs. Therefore, society disables these people by having buildings and places that are only accessible by stairs. Over the last 100 years, there have been many protests about accessibility for disabled people. for really simple things that we take for granted every day, like a ramp to get onto a public transport bus, or a curb drop to get onto a pavement, or a lift to get into different parts of the building, or even just a ramp to get into the building. The list just goes on. Accessibility for people in wheelchairs has improved. It took a lot of hard work and determination, but changes have been made. However, they are still disabled. They often have to enter buildings via back entrances. There is limited spaces for them on public transport. Shelves in supermarkets are too high for them to reach. This is an example of how people who are physically different have become disabled as a result of society's idealised expectations. The changes that have been made are an improvement, but they do not create an equal society for people with impairments. Invisible impairments such as dyslexia and autism are more complicated to understand in terms of disability. I'm going to use dyslexia as an example because I experience it every day and therefore have a better understanding of it. The British education system has targets it expects every child to meet at certain ages. The national curriculum sets these targets and teachers are expected to get the children to meet them. These are then tested through SATs and GCSEs. Reading, writing and spelling create a foundation for the national curriculum because every subject relies on those things for a child to succeed. Every child is expected to have a high literary understanding by the time they leave school, and this is really important for them to be carried to the workplace, for them to succeed in their career, because most jobs need you to be able to read and write, whether that's just you reading your contract so you understand what your actual job is, or if you've got to go into, I don't know, if you're a lawyer and you need to go into court and explain and read things. You need to be able to read and write to be able to have a good career. For people with dyslexia, spelling, reading and writing does not come naturally. It's really difficult for them to process information and retain this into their long-term memory. There are obviously other elements of dyslexia, but I'm going to focus on reading, writing and spelling because they're like the key ones that everybody knows. The focus on literary in school and the expectation that every child will meet these certain targets disables people with dyslexia. If they do not meet these targets, they are seen to be falling behind, failing, unable to succeed. There is a hard push to give these children interventions to get them back on target. The targets and expectations here are created with the idealised child in mind. A child that has no impairment, a child that has no problems at home, a child that just focuses on succeeding. We can't expect every child to fit into this idealisation, nor should we be bombarding them with interventions and extra work to catch up. Every child is different. Every child has different strengths and weaknesses. People with dyslexia can be extremely creative, not just within the arts, but they also have the ability to think of new ideas and solutions that are so far outside the box, no one else has thought of them yet. We should be celebrating that. We should not be saying to a child that is struggling with English, you need to do loads of English to make sure that you get your GCSE and that is all you focus on. If we do that, these children are going to be leaving school feeling like failures if they don't pass English. Yet if we focus on what they're actually really good at, they'll be leaving school thinking that they can do anything because they've succeeded in something and the pressure wasn't put on them to succeed at something that they clearly can't do. Obviously, I understand that as educators, we are unable to remove the expectations of the curriculum. We are highly controlled by the national curriculum, and to go against this does not help our students. They need to succeed at maths and English, because if they don't, they are really going to struggle in the workplace. However, this way of thinking about disability that I've just explained opens up options for these students, helping them understand that they are amazing and they do not need to change. It's society that needs to change. Helping them understand this will give them the strength to fight for their identity and not feel the need to conform to the restrictions and opinions ableist society tries to place upon them. Obviously, intervention is important, and I'm not saying that we should forget about doing English for dyslexics, because we can't just change society overnight. I'm just saying that we need to rethink the way we approach interventions and make sure children are being encouraged to do what they love, as well as encouraged to do a bit of intervention for what they're struggling at. I know a lot of the things I have talked about may be a bit controversial, confusing, unrealistic, but I basically just wanted to share this to make people think about the way that we are supporting children in schools, make people think about the word disability and how it's not their fault. They were born into a society that is like this, and some of them might not even know how they're affected by the world of ableism, but some of them might actually be really struggling. And I just think it's really important that we explain to these children that they've done nothing wrong and who they are is amazing, and we need to encourage that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and it doesn't just sound like I'm ranting, but anyway, thank you for watching.